Hey guys, how are you? It's me. I know I always say that on my videos here. This is actually part 2 of the tomato cage fall tree. And I know I've owed you this video for a little while, and I apologize for that. I've just been so crazy busy. This is what I had done. I had completed during the live class. It is a pretty time-consuming project, I won't lie, but the majority of the live class was spent, quite honestly, stringing the lights. This is actually a work garland. When I made my tomato cage trees last year, I didn't use a work garland. If you don't have a work garland, I can't even get the whole thing in the camera here. If you don't have, and I'm sorry for my daytime light here, if you don't have a work garland, you're going to need to get floral wire and actually run it through to make more spots to put your pipe cleaners on. And I explained this in a little bit more detail in part 1 in the live class, because if you look at your tomato cage, and you really can't see it now because it's got mesh on it, or it's halfway up with mesh, but if you look at your tomato cage, you're going to see that there's 1, 2, 3 bars that go vertically. This is a 33-inch cage. If you have a larger cage, or if you did not get your tomato cage from Lowe's, you might have more. But typically with a 33-inch cage, you're going to have 3 vertical bars, and you're going to have 2 that go around. Okay, now I know one of my members had a tomato cage that she got from somewhere else, and it had like a double set of bars. That's better. The more bars you have, the better. But the reason why I opted for the work garland is because it gave me more areas to put pipe cleaners. Now these already came with pipe cleaners on them, but that's definitely not going to be enough. So you're going to see in part 1, and hopefully you watched that one first, that I showed how to wrap the work garland around. I actually took my lights and I wrapped them around the work garland. If you don't want to use a work garland, you're going to have to get floral wire, and you're going to have to wrap around your tree in between the existing bars, the vertical or the horizontal bars, and in between the vertical bars. You're just going to have to sort of make more bars vertically and horizontally to attach your pipe cleaners so you can have a nice full tree. And I hope that makes sense. If you don't want to use a work garland, go ahead and let me know. I mean, they're not expensive. They're on Craft Outlet. I think they're like $6 or $7. You get a 9-foot garland. But if you don't want to use one, and you really are kind of confused with regard to what I'm talking about with the floral wire, let me know, because I do have a video from last Christmas where I did a Christmas tree using the ruffle method, but I did not use a work garland, and I show you in that video how to attach the floral wire to make more spots for your pipe cleaners, but I don't want to go on and on about that. But let's go ahead and work on this a little bit more, because all I'm really going to do is finish up my tree, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some embellishments, some leaves and pumpkins and whatnot. So right now I have my orange mesh, and I have my jute mesh, which is this. So I was using orange. I was using a poly jute mesh, which is just a poly mesh with jute burlap running through it. Where's my orange mesh? It's buried here on my work table or my workstation. If you could see how much stuff I stacked over here, you would cry. Ribbon, and I'm sort of in between seasons here. Out with summer and in with fall and Halloween, and I've got some Christmas ribbon over here, so I've got like 3 different holidays or 3 different seasons going on over here. Let me just kind of move some of this stuff over so I can get to my orange mesh. So I have an orange mesh as well. I was just going to do all orange, but that was going to be a little bit of overkill. which is why I decided to do the poly jute. And I also I'm using some gold. Let me find my gold. Where is it? It's over here. And I have some gold mesh I was using. So I have 3 different colors going here, but I like the way they look together. So let's just continue. And I'm not going to make you watch me do the whole thing. I'm just going to sort of do a few more here. Now, where I had left off was right here. Now, you're going to be using the pipe cleaners that are on your work garland, but you're also going to need to be adding more because they're kind of far apart. So right here is my last pipe cleaner on the work garland, and there's kind of a big space here for the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add another pipe cleaner in there. I hope I still have orange pipe cleaners left. If I don't, you just have to use gold. I think I have some gold. Actually, I have orange. I might even have some tan. I might opt for tan. But honestly, the color that you use doesn't really matter. You're going to be cutting them off anyway. You're not going to be, unless you want to attach ribbon. I don't think I'm going to be attaching any ribbon to my tree. So I thought for sure I had some tan pipe cleaners. Can you tell how prepared I am here? Probably buried at the bottom here. Yep, they sure are. So I don't think I have any orange left, but that's okay, because I do have tan. And again, I have a lot of pipe cleaners. I don't know if I'm going to be adding any ribbon to mine. If you do plan on adding ribbon, do not cut your pipe cleaners off, because you're going to do just like you do with a wreath. And you're going to take your ribbon tails and you're going to attach them right to the top of the pipe cleaner that you have left after you attach your mesh. I can't think today. I didn't get much sleep last night. I had a little bit of a health scare last night in the middle of the night, so I'm a little tired today, but I don't really want to go into that. Jute mesh has a tendency to fray on the ends, so I may go around when I'm done getting all my mesh on and spray with some craft adhesive spray. I don't really like to spray it in the house, but jute mesh does fray a little bit. It is kind of smelly. Not the regular mesh, just the jute, I'm noticing is kind of fraying a little bit on the ends. So, not a good idea to spray that in the house. So, what I was doing, so let me go ahead and add another pipe cleaner here. I was just at Hobby Lobby too. I should have. So, again, you have pipe cleaners on your work garland. But you're going to have to fill in a little bit. So we're just making ruffles. Again, just like we did in part 1. Again, I like to take my ruffle, my piece of mesh, and fold it over a little bit on the end like that. And then flip it over. And then I scrunch it so that cut end is folded over. So what I was doing was alternating. I was doing an orange on the top and then either a jute or a gold on the bottom or vice versa. So this last one had orange on the top, so I'm going to, and jute on the bottom, so I'm going to do the orange on the bottom this time. I was pretty much putting orange in every tie, but I was just alternating my jute mesh and my gold with the orange. So we have orange going down here first in the next tie. And I think since I had jute, now I'm going to do a gold. I think one of my members had 4 colors in her tree, which you can also do. You can just do 1 color if you want to. This has got a lot of pieces coming off. I don't like when the metallic comes out. That drives me crazy. If you get a cheap mesh, which I'm not sure where I got it, your metallic strands can sometimes come out. And that makes me crazy. So try to get your ruffle even on both sides before you lay it down. And I do a crisscross. I cross it over. So if my first piece is going this way, I lay the other one crisscross over it. I'm not going to worry about my ties just yet. Like I said, I may add ribbon. If I decide I'm not going to add ribbon, I'll just go ahead and cut my ties off. If you're going to cut your ties off and you're just going to say add leaves and not add any ribbon, make sure that you've got it twisted on a few times before you cut it off, because if you don't, you're going to lose your mesh. Your mesh is going to come loose. Okay, so now I had orange and I have gold. This next pipe cleaner that's on my work garland, you can see that is pretty close to the one that I just put on. So I'm going to go with that one. I'm not going to add another pipe cleaner just yet. I'm going to see as I go around that there's a pretty big space here. I'm going to have to add more pipe cleaners, if you could see up here. So my work garland kind of comes around and goes up this way. And there's a kind of a big gap here. I may still even need to add some floral wire. It's kind of like you're going to see as you go along. You're going to say, oh, wait a minute, I have a gap there. Of course, it's getting skinnier as you go up. But it's more or less common sense. You know, you're going to see, oh, wait a minute, I need to put a pipe cleaner there, or I need to put some floral wire to fill that in. So it's really not that difficult to kind of figure out what you need to do. So I don't need to put another pipe cleaner on just yet, but I am going to start with, I'm going to do, I think, my jute now on the bottom. Again, lay it down this way up first. Fold down maybe an inch or 2, flip it over, and then start your ruffle. And I'm pretty sure these are 18-inch pieces. I don't remember without going back and looking at my supply list. I cut these a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure these are 18-inch pieces. And the reason why I did 18 is because ideally when you're cutting a 10-inch roll, excuse me, a 10-yard roll of, I can't even talk, a 10-inch roll of mesh, you have 30 feet, okay, which is 10 yards, right? Yeah, 10 yards in a 30-foot roll of 10-inch mesh. Now, ideally, if you do your math, you are supposed to be able to get 18 20-inch pieces out of a 10 or a 30-foot roll of 10-inch mesh, okay? However, that's in a perfect world. I shouldn't be spraying this in the inside, but I just want to spray the ends of my jute here. But in a perfect world, nobody's going to get 20 or 18 perfect 20-inch cuts, because you're cutting in a hurry, you're using your rotary cutter, or you're using your wood burning tool. Some pieces might be 19 inches, some pieces might be 21. So I go ahead and when I'm cutting a 30-foot roll of 10-inch mesh, I just do it at 18. I may have a little bit of waste, but I know that I'm going to get as many cuts as I can out of that roll without too much waste. Because normally when you're making a wreath and you're cut using, I like to put usually two ruffles per tie. I'm doing an orange on top here. And there's 18 ties in a wreath. So I like to have 36 pieces, 2 per tie. So I tried to do it with the 20 inch, but it didn't work out because of the way, you know, people make mistakes when they're cutting. It's not. So I just settled at 18. Now, if I'm doing 30-inch pieces in my wreath, that's a different story. So you only need 1 of those per tie. So I have a little bit of a gap here again in between my ties on the work garland. I want them very close together. I want them full. So here's my next tie, but I have I'm going to add another pipe cleaner in there just because I want them close together. And you can wrap your pipe cleaner right around your work garland. So I'm going to do orange on the bottom now, since I did orange on the top on the last one. And again, I'm not going to make you watch me do this whole thing. I may pause this for a little while as I continue up my tree, and then I'll come back when I get toward the top to show you how to finish her off. I always lay my first one down parallel to the tree, so kind of going around the tree with the tomato cage. And then I cross the other one. And make sure you're not squishing your previous one, meaning don't lay it on top of the other one, like lift it up when you're putting the next one on, if that makes sense. That's what makes your ruffle. You want them to be ruffled. You don't want them to be squished. I really don't want to spray this again, but I'd rather spray it as I'm going along here. And it's just the jute that's sort of fraying on the ends here. My son's going to walk in when he gets home and he's going to say, "What is that smell?" And I can't really open my window because it's 10,000 degrees outside today in upstate New York. But this is the last hot day we're going to have. It's going to go back down into the 70s, thank God. I'm ready for fall. I'm sorry, ladies. I like summer, but 90s just make me crazy. And don't do this. Don't spray it in your house. It's stinky. I'm just doing a little bit here and there. And the stuff works great. It's just a little bit smelly. If you get it on your hands, you're going to need to use olive oil or canola oil, vegetable oil to get it off, because I use the gold now. It does not come off your fingers that easy. It's not like super glue, but soap and water isn't going to get it off. Let's put it that way. One thing I will tell you, and I know I had this conversation in the group the other day in a live class, is I will never use the E6000 in the tube again, because that stuff is horrendously smelly. Some other people say they don't smell it, but it really, really bothered me. And I had used it to attach a customer sign to a wreath, and I literally had to let that thing air out outside for almost a week before the smell went away. It was terrible. The E6000 spray isn't as bad, but the what do you call it? In the tube, it was terrible. So now I'm doing a gold. So I'm alternating orange and gold and orange and the jute mesh. Now we have our next pipe cleaner on. I'm just going to do a couple more, but I think you kind of get the idea here. As you're going along, just see how you're doing with space, meaning if you think you're going to have too much space in between the pipe cleaners on your work garland, just add another pipe cleaner. You can add it right onto your work garland. That's what it's for. It's got some fraying too. This gold mesh isn't the best quality. I'm not even sure where I got it. You can always just kind of tuck your cut ends in too. I'm going to be putting leaves and whatnot too, so that's going to cover a lot of any little frays that you might have. I'm just going to do a couple more here, and then I'm going to turn the camera off and finish going up the tree, and I'll come back when I get closer to the top so you can see how we finish it off. But I wanted to get this done for you guys. If you've been waiting, and not everyone was able to attend the live class, so you're sort of sitting here waiting for me to finish so I can get you both parts. I probably could have gone ahead and just mailed you part one, but oh, wait a minute here. I need a jute piece. I'm doing orange again. Did an orange on the bottom, so. It's almost time for my doggie's dinner. She's going to be getting up soon. Usually she comes wandering in the kitchen at like 3:30 wanting her dinner. I'm like, I'm not feeding you your dinner at 3:30, sweetheart. It's way too early. She's on a schedule. She gets her insulin shot for her diabetes when she has her dinner, and so she has to have it 12 hours apart. But honestly, when she gets up at 6 and has her breakfast, she doesn't usually want to wait until 6 o'clock for her dinner. So, but there's no way I can, give it to her at 3:30. So I'm going to shut this off for a little while. And we really don't have that much more to do. You can see how it gets thinner at the top here. So I'm just going to shut it off for a little while, and I'm going to work on this. And then I'll come back when I'm almost done, and we'll go from there. I'll be back, guys. Thank you.